My husband's midlife crisis is something I never expected, and I can't stop having butterflies in my stomach. My husband worked in finance for a very large company, and he had the blue eyes to go along with it. But his passion for me disappeared after our kids were born like it was a switch being flipped. He stopped bringing home flowers and kissing me on the neck while flirting. He stopped taking me on weekend trips or telling me he wanted me. I kept myself in shape for him and initiated intimacy with him often, but even though he never declined, I could tell he just wanted to get it over with. He would get up and go to sleep as soon as I reached climax, which made me feel awful. Eventually, I stopped initiating, and it felt like we were more roommates than a married couple. I still loved him and had no desire to cheat, so I figured this is just what happens after kids and accepted it as normal. That is, until one fateful weekend when he turned 40. He suddenly hired a babysitter and asked me if I wanted to go away for the weekend, with just the two of us. I was shocked, and agreed, but without any expectations. During the car ride, he put his hand on my thigh, something he hadn't done in years. He told me how good I looked and said he couldn't wait to have fun. I was very confused and had to do a double take to make sure he was still my husband. The weekend trip was the same. He had changed into a completely different man, especially in the bedroom. I can't remember the last time he held my hand and made me feel like heaven was coming closer. I was really happy and enjoyed the attention to its fullest. This continued when we got home and I noticed he was losing weight. His dad bod was being replaced with toned abs, and he looked even better than before we got married. However, this scared me to the point where I got suspicious. I couldn't understand why he would turn into the perfect husband overnight. The only event that could have influenced him was turning 40 years old, but surely that wasn't it, right? He was working out so hard that he started to look a bit like Alan Ritchson, the guy who plays Jack Reacher, only 100 times more handsome. That's when I went online and saw something horrific. A woman was explaining how men do this to get more options, and only because they want to cheat. I started hyperventilating. I loved him so much that I couldn't stomach the thought of my husband being in a similar situation. I immediately went to his room and flung myself into his arms while screaming, "Tell me the truth. Tell me why you decided to change so much." He sighed and said, "You remember that incident in the summer of 2024? I said I didn't. And that's when he told me everything. Turns out he had discovered two of his subordinates having an affair. The woman's partner was calling the office every single day to ask about her. Eventually, my husband couldn't help but get involved. He called the woman to his office and asked why she would cheat if she had such a stable marriage. What she said almost broke his heart. She opened up about how her husband was lazy, never touched her, and it felt like they were just roommates. Some of these reasons hit home for my husband, and he thought that for a second, this woman was talking about our marriage and not hers. So that day he decided that he won't let our relationship end in the same way as hers. He started putting in more effort and loved me like never before. The reason he didn't want to tell me this before was because I would think he didn't trust me enough to not cheat. I was so relieved and happy that I can't even explain it, and secretly thanked that woman for being unfaithful. So anyway, I guess I'll spend the rest of my days gushing all over this specimen of a man knowing that he loves me even more than I love him.